Greetings and salutations and welcome to Illegitimate Legends, the show where I like to talk about some of the more unusual League of Legends builds. This week we are taking a look at a on-hit damage Lulu build. So basically magical DPS, really high attack speed, with items that cause you to do magical damage on your attacks. These items, as some of you probably know, in fact most of you, Madred's Bloodrazor, Ionic Spark, Wit's End, Malady. They're the items you want. You also want Berserker's Greaves, because more attack speed when you're dealing damage every hit. Kind of a good thing. And I've already told you the build. I haven't really told you the build order, which I might as well do now. Madred's Bloodrazor comes after Shoes. Shoes first. Get them all the way to the Berserker's Greaves, because speed is useful. Then Madred's Bloodrazor, then Malady, then Wit's End, then Ionic Spark. You'll notice this is very different to, say, my Teemo build, where I got Ionic Spark first. That's because Lulu deals damage every hit. She doesn't get an extra burst of damage on any number of her hits. And so having an extra effect that does that doesn't synergize well, and I found that as an early game item it didn't do what I needed it to do, which is why I went for Madred's Bloodrazor. Couple that with Surge, and that's a lot of damage early on that you can be doing, particularly to enemy high health champions. Other than that, like, why is Lulu good? She's got picks, that's 45 extra damage per hit. When you're getting about 2.5 attack speed, that extra 45 damage a hit really adds up, particularly when coupled with Malady, so that you've got lots of spell penetration. You're doing a lot of damage there. Her other abilities at this point all become utility. There's a little bit of damage in them, but you can slow, and Lulu's slow is just absurd. Like, let's be honest, it is a ridiculously powerful slow when you get right down to the numbers of it. 80%, even though it wears off over time, you can hit them twice with it. So much slowing! I don't know any other single slow which is quite as powerful as that. You've got Whimsy, which gives you either a massive speed and AP increase, 60 points of AP at max level, and a whole lot of speed, or you can turn them into a cat. Use this to get around the map, use it as often as you can. Unless you see there's a fight coming, in which case save it, and remove their primary damage dealer. Just turn them into a cat, and then dacker them down with your minigun picks, and done. That removes a massive problem from the fight. Couple that with your ultimate, which you can either use on yourself or any other allies, you can hold someone effectively stun-locked for a massive duration. I've killed off people in the time that they've been unable to do things, from being kiddie-formed to being knocked into the air. Syncing that right means that no one can hurt you, which is very, very good. Help picks, the least useful ability I found. I didn't rank it until lastly. Provides line of sight. Nah, that's a little useful. Using it to get a shield. You don't have enough AP for that shield to be worth having, so not very useful again. So that ability is underused. Mostly you just use it to deal damage to the enemy champion. And that's all there is for DPS Lulu. You right-click, you hit them a bajillion times a second, because every attack is 4 attacks. However, that's not in the case of on-hit effects, sadly. However, and I don't have any footage of this to show you, but this build does its best work on Dominion. Now, I don't often play Dominion, so I, like I said, don't have any footage, but because you hit 4 times every time you attack, if you get the shield buff from the center of the Dominion map, every single attack you make will shoot lightning at them. Every single one. That's such a ridiculously massive DPS increase and if you take Surge and your ultimate, you can become the biggest frickin' thing short of Cho'Gath. That's where this build needs to be played. There's nothing else to say. It's moderately good. It's a moderately good build. It can be played effectively top lane. I wouldn't try middle, but maybe. I hear she can jungle, but I didn't give it a go. It seemed rather ridiculous. Top lane or bot lane? Yeah. No, take her to minion. Take her to minion because then you don't need to farm, and oddly enough it's really hard to farm because you do a lot of damage, but your damage is staggered a bit, and you'd be surprised how often a minion will take your last hit between you hitting and Pix hitting. Nothing else. There's no other words, just moderately good DPS build. Soraka does it better, but Soraka does not have the same power on Dominion. Thank you guys for watching, and I will see you next week with a hopefully more interesting build. Thank you, and good night.